Coming up on FYI, in a special report, we head to one of the largest refugee camps to meet the world's youngest peace campaigner, Bana Alabed.
It makes me really upset seeing children living in tents. It's just not right.
As the world focuses on helping Ukrainians, Bana appeals for us not to forget millions of children who have fled other wars. Welcome to your weekly news show, FYI. Before our special report, we're going to celebrate girl power in sport. Firstly, of course, congratulations to the England team who brought football home with their massive win in the Women's Euro Championships. The Football Association says that their win means there will be much better opportunities for all girls who want to play football. I just had to get hold of superfan Tess, who went viral with footage of her celebrating a goal at the semi-final. Hi Tess, how are you?
Good.
So, after you went viral, the England team gave you tickets to see the final at Wembley. Was that really fun for you?
Yeah, it was amazing and the atmosphere was great because where we were sat was like in the middle but like slightly to the right, and Chloe Kelly's goal and Ella Tombs' goal was amazing.
Do you play football?
Yes. Recently I went for a trial for Leeds United and I got into one of the emerging talent centres in Leeds.
Would you ever want to play for England one day?
Yeah, that's one of my things that I want to do when I'm older.
Yeah, I think you definitely will. Thanks Tess, bye! It's such an exciting summer for sport in our country. As well as the Euros, we've had Wimbledon, now the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, and there was another sport event on our coast. The Sail Grand Prix is described as the most exciting race on water. Scarlett went to Plymouth to meet Hannah Mills, Britain's most successful sailor, to check it out.
This is Sail GP, a high-speed sailing race with boats that literally fly across the water. This is the F50, a boat so powerful and fast, it can reach speeds of up to 60 miles per hour.
Hannah Mills is the most successful female sailor in Olympic history, and now she races for Great Britain in the Sail GP Championship.
What type of skills does it take to make it go so fast?
To go fast, I guess, everyone in the boat has their individual role that's very different, I guess, from each other's. So obviously the driver's the driver, I'm calling the wind and the race course, which way we want to go. Then there's the guy that's doing the flight controls.
Yep, you heard right. These boats really do fly. And it's all down to these blades called hydrofoils.
So these are the hydrofoils?
Yeah, so these are the things under the boat that make the boat fly out the water and get to the speeds that we can get to. But when we go sailing, they come up and down, and they go down sort of 2.5 meters. Wow. So that's how high the boat is flying out the water. And you can kind of see the shape, they're kind of shaped like a wing. Obviously they're pointing inwards rather than outwards that you'd imagine on an aeroplane, but it does the same thing.
I then got to see Hannah and the team in action on their first practice day in Plymouth.
They're going so fast and flying through the water because of the hydrofoils underneath the boat. That was so cool. I mean, it felt like we were flying through the water. I mean, I looked over and they were like running from one side. It was so exciting. They were like skimming across the top.
And it's great to see the teams are a mix of men and women. Sail GP hope to inspire the next generation of young female sailors, like Hattie Rogers, who came up through their youth programme just last year and has already got to sail with Team GB.
The Sail GP programme has developed the Women's Pathway programme, which is trying to close the gap between male and female athletes. So it's basically trying to give female athletes more time on the water and just equal opportunities, basically.
It's amazing now you're here to inspire other young people like yourself.
Well, that's the aim, for sure.
Sadly, it wasn't a win for Team GB this time, but it was great to see them in action.
Here at FYI, we discuss the big issues with the kids who are affected by them. We call it Kidversation. When I say refugees, what do you think of? Ukrainians fleeing the war, right? But charities are appealing to us not to forget the millions of other refugees who have fled from other wars and are in terrible conditions. So we're going to head to one of the world's largest refugee camps for a special report.
is Bana. I'm 13 years old and I live in Turkey, but this isn't where I'm from. My home city is Aleppo in Syria. Sadly, my happy childhood was torn apart by war. As the bombs fell around my home, my mom and I reached out to the world using social media to let people know what was happening.
Stand with any phone.
So many people saw my messages. It changed my life forever.
The first time I got to know what was going on in Syria was when I saw Bana's videos posted online. I remember being really worried about what would happen to her, especially after she told the world that her best friend Yasmin had been killed in a bomb attack.
I am sad. It's so bad.
It was way too dangerous for Bana and her family to stay in Syria, so they fled to Turkey where they became refugees. But Bana wasn't like any other refugee. Her social media posts had caught the attention of millions of people, including the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Wanting to show the world his kindness, he arranged a safe home for her and her family.
Thank you.
Sadly, not all refugees have been made to feel as welcome as Bana was. Many Syrian families ended up living in terrible conditions in refugee camps. So Bana decided to use her global fame to demand better treatment of refugees. I'm about to have a conversation with a girl determined to change the world. A girl who is campaigning for the one thing that would end the suffering of millions of kids. Peace. The first time I met Bana was back in 2019. My job was to introduce her at a conference in Dubai as she gave a speech to celebrities and world leaders.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Bana Alabed!
Her message was that refugees should be able to live with dignity, and children who've had to flee their countries should still be able to go to school.
They want to be teachers, they want to be doctors, but without education, they won't be anything.
Even though we live in different countries, Bana and I have become friends, and today we're meeting up in Jordan.
Brayden, hi!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Bana, how are you?
I'm good.
But we haven't come to Jordan just for a catch-up. Bana has asked me here because she wants to show me why her campaign to help refugees is still so desperately needed. We're on our way to a place called Zaatari, the largest Syrian refugee camp in the world. It's just 6 miles from the border with Syria.
So, Brayden, have you ever been to a refugee camp before?
No, I haven't, and to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what to expect.
Okay. This place opened 10 years ago, and it was just 100 of tents in the desert, and it was just meant to be temporary. But now, it's a home to over 80,000 people, and more than half of them are children.
The Zaatari refugee camp is huge. It's like a city in the middle of the desert. And this is the main street. It's not what I was expecting at all.
So, Brayden, what are your first impressions then?
Well, for me, it just has to be the size of this place. I mean, it's massive, and I think it is a little bit overwhelming. And to think none of this was here 10 years ago. I feel like a temporary solution has almost become an obvious permanent one.
Exactly.
I mean, just look at this street. This has become a proper shopping street. And I've heard people have been calling it the Champs-Élysées, which is one of the poshest shopping streets in Paris, as a joke.
Look around, you can pretty much buy anything here. Bicycles, food, even phones, wow.
I know.
And wedding dresses. Isn't that crazy, people getting married here? I mean, I want one.
I mean, even though we are in a refugee camp, it's almost like everybody's just getting on with their everyday lives and trying to make the best out of a bad situation. To find out what life is like for the refugees here, we're meeting a family with 6 children. They came here in 2012 to escape the war and have been here ever since. So why was it so important for you and your family to leave Syria and come here?
In Syria, there was a war and no safety. If we'd have stayed in Syria, there would have been no safety at all. We came to Jordan because the Jordanians are a kind people.
So what are your hopes for the future?
I hope to continue my studies outside the camp and outside of Jordan and succeed and learn English.
What are your hopes for the future and where do you want to go?
I want to leave and not stay here. I want to leave to a European country. There is no future here.
And can you please tell me what is the best thing about living in a camp and what is the worst thing?
The best thing, there is nothing.
And the worst thing?
That we are living here.
The worst thing is the dust, sand, and the heat.
In Zaatari, most of the people live like this. Basically, metal containers.
I mean, even though the families are trying to make it like a proper home and have that warmth to it, I just can't get my head around how difficult it must be to come to a completely different place and have none of your stuff.
Yeah, when you become a refugee, you can only take what you can carry. I still remember when I had to leave Syria, I couldn't take my dolls. I was really upset. This looks quite basic, but you know, it can be a lot worse.
Not far from the family's home, there's a community centre where children can come and meet their friends, log onto laptops, and get involved in all sorts of activities. I'm meeting two girls who come here every day. So, can you remember how old you were when you first came to the camp?
I was 3 years old when I came, and there were tents. But things have changed a lot since then. Life has changed. And instead of tents, there are now caravans. You can do whatever you want now. It is much better than it used to be, with possibilities to study.
Are you allowed to, leave the camp sometimes and then come back? What is the freedom like?
If you have permission, then you can come and go as you like. But there are police and security on the door. It is strict. But if we go and get permission for a holiday, for say a week, and stay out of the camp for longer than that, then we won't be allowed back in.
Many of the refugees dream of a day when they can return to their homeland and live in peace. But Syria's civil war has been going on for more than 11 years now, with different groups fighting over who should have control of the country. More than 500,000 Syrians have been killed, and more than 13 million people have fled their homes to seek safety. Most of them come to neighbouring countries like Turkey, where Bana lives, or Jordan. For its part, the UK has taken in around 20,000 Syrian refugees. Some Syrian people are so desperate that they try to get into the UK on small boats, crossing the English Channel from France. But some people think they shouldn't be allowed to stay here. Back in Jordan, about 80% of Syrian refugees live outside the official camps, but with very little support. Many of them struggle with extreme poverty, and it can be especially dangerous for children.
You know, it makes me really upset seeing children living in tents. It's just not right. It makes me feel really guilty that I have a proper house and a great school. But at the same time, I'm trying my best to highlight about the Syrian refugees. Lately, the Ukrainian people have been getting a lot of help, which is just a great thing. But people shouldn't also forget about refugees around the world.
It's time for us to leave. We've seen for ourselves just how difficult life can be for Syrian refugees. But at the same time, we've seen how there are also moments of happiness for the children who live here. People aren't just sat around feeling sorry for themselves. They're doing the best they can to make things better. And maybe one day, with the help of charities and campaigners like Bana, they'll be able to live a normal life in a place they're proud to call their home.
Join in on the big conversation about racism, poverty, conflict and war, and how we are affected. For more conversations, head to Sky Kids On Demand or our webpage, first.news/FYI. just hit the link. See you next time.